Okay, this time I will talk about logics, shape generators. Pick logic first. You can connect it to a texture. So now this texture has two inputs. First of all, the image that gets copied onto the texture, and then this generator that gets copied onto the texture with its own frequency. The image that gets copied onto you control by this frequency slider and this blend slider. So now a black image gets put onto the texture with low blend, and that makes these shapes fade away. You can set here the frequency of the shapes being put onto the texture. So now it's going faster. With every tick you can say how many shapes get painted. Now it's 10 every time the frequency ticks. And here with the blend. Then let's make it faster. Here you have the mode. Right now it's random shapes. You can set it to grid or logic. That means the shapes are logically put onto the texture, one beside the other one, or circle, and then it's circling around, and you can change the radius of the circle. And here you can sync the x and the epsilon radius. You can turn it off too. And the circle speed, in what direction the circle goes. Here you have logic. You can set the grid size, how the grid looks, and same thing, sync x and epsilon slider. Then change direction is how often this line changes its direction. So if I turn it up, now it's changing direction very often and makes a cluster. Diagonal, then it makes diagonal movements. Chance of jumps is how often the line runner starts in a new position. If I turn this down to 0, the line continuously getting drawn. Let's go back to the random. Here you can set the shape size. Right now it's all the same size. You can do random within this X size, and then it looks like this. And right now X and epsilon is synced. You can turn it off, and then you can do stuff like this. So now epsilon size is very small, or the other way around, like this. Exactly. You can do random off, and then you get all the same size. You can play around with it. Okay, now let's do some random stuff like this and get to the use texture options. You have a stamp texture, so we have to make a new texture first. Make a new texture and say this one. Now you can say, okay, stamp texture is texture 2, and then one thing, the texture color has to be black for this to work, otherwise it's not working. So black, and now it takes copies parts of this picture and puts it onto this texture. Here you can say the stamp mode is stamp region, so only parts of the picture is put onto the texture. Or you can do whole image. Now it takes the whole image and puts it where the shape would go. That makes more sense with stuff like this. Of course, you can also use alpha channeled image. You can make one right now just from this. So alpha channel 2, make it white. And now we use texture 3 to copy it on here. Texture 3. And now you have alpha channeled texture stamp mode. Random off. Now they're all the same size. And here you can set the frequency. Obviously when you turn up this frequency, it will adapt to the texture. Okay. This one is a little bit more complicated. Drop to color. That means every time the main color here changes, it will drop down to this color with this speed. So right now it's 0. That means no drop color effect. If you turn it up, it will drop to black. So let's try it out. Let's turn off the stamp and we choose a different color. Oh, and then exactly, you have to right mouse click or control click on a Mac to set the smoothness to 0, because only when the color has reached its destination, this fade to black will work. So let's do a random on the color, and now we can see now it's changing the color, and now it's changing, and then it's fading down to black with this speed. Now it's slower, and every time a new color comes, the new color will kick in and then it will fade down to black or to any other color. You can let it fall down to red, and then a color comes, new color now, and then it will fade to red. That's the drop color. You can do it faster too. It's nice, you can try it out. Okay, let's turn it down to 0. Ink only works with 100% blend, and then you can say transparent reverse. So how the shape gets copied onto the texture with what ink effect. Copy, save and load. That's it. The shape logic, it's almost the same thing. The only difference is that, okay, let's delete this again from the texture. That's what this button is for. Let's put this one on and turn these ones off. That is a picture-based copy, and this one is a shape-based copy. That's why you can use lines, for example. So you have here the shape type. It's only 4 different shapes: circle, round, quads, bigger size. And here you cannot use texture stamping or anything because it's real shapes. Genau, that's the difference between shape and picture. Otherwise it's the same thing.